We saw the film we're about to review ages ago at the Sundance Film Festival when it came to London, didn't we?
Yes.
And it's American Animals, directed by Bart Layton, who did the film The Imposter a couple of years ago, which you quite liked. This film stars Evan Peters, Barry... how do you pronounce
Keoghan,
Barry?
Keoghan?
Keoghan? How do you pronounce his name?
Saoirse.
So it's a film that combines documentary with drama. And it's about it's a heist movie, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And but it's an unusual heist. What is the heist of? What is it that they plan to steal?
Books.
A book.
Books.
Yeah, it's a major book. What was the book?
Audubon.
Audubon?
I never know how to pronounce that.
Well, yeah.
He's famous in the book Bird
Well,
world.
it's loads of very famous paintings
Yes.
of American birds.
Well, not just American
Well, not
birds,
just American
birds
birds.
generally.
Birds.
And he is the epitome of drawing birds. I mean, that is a major deal.
Yeah.
But the bigger deal is
Yeah.
less the book, it's more the value, isn't it?
Oh,
I mean,
of
it's
course.
worth
Yes,
an
yes.
absolute fortune. I mean,
And
how
that's
much?
why-
It's worth sort of like 14 million or
Something
something
ridiculous,
ridiculous, isn't it?
yeah.
And it's a true story.
It
I mean,
is a
this
true story.
actually happened. I have a bit of history with the producers as far as I used to work with Dimitri Duganis, who's one of the exec producers, and he runs a company called Raw TV, and they're you probably know them best for Banged Up Abroad. So they have a track record in broadcast of trying to blur the boundaries
Yeah.
between documentary and drama. And if I'm honest, I've always personally been fascinated
Yes.
with that blurred boundary. Films like The Thin Blue Line,
Exactly.
a lot of Errol Morris's films, a lot of documentaries which combine and sort of play with the idea of what's real and what's not real. I'm going to be a bit contentious with this. It's got a lot of positive press. A lot of people are very excited about it. I was excited about it. It was actually...
Well, we didn't know you were seeing it.
I was about to say,
No, that's
absolutely. What did
true.
we go? We booked to see
It's a surprise.
It was a
film
surprise
at
film.
Sundance.
Well, before it, as Maddie said, we didn't know. American Animals, it starts with a quote from Darwin, you don't know what you're watching.
Yeah.
And then it goes straight into a weird scene of what one presumes is a reenactment of something, because all these young men are dressed
Yes.
as old men. And then slowly it brings it up to the actual heist itself,
Yeah.
where they have assumed these ridiculous, one could say, disguises, because they clearly don't look
Yeah.
old.
I could tell just from his eye that it was Evan Peters.
Could
Right.
you?
Which was when he was putting the makeup on. And I was like, oh my god, it's Evan Peters.
So that was
Like,
quite an exciting
yeah, and I
prospect.
love him.
Yeah.
And then I noticed it was Barry Keoghan, who's from Dunkirk.
Mm.
And I really liked him in Dunkirk, even though he had a really small part.
Yeah.
And the
Like, his
Sacred
face
Deer
is really
is
interesting.
in the Sacred
Oh yeah, Killing of the Sacred Deer.
If I remember correctly, it went straight to almost a documentary setup sort of thing, a bit like I, Tonya.
Yes.
Except it was one of the real guys from
Yeah.
the story. So it was the real, I think, Stephen, which was who was Barry Keoghan was playing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, so it's a documentary film? I was a bit confused.
It's always a challenging moment if you're doing a docudrama, how you introduce that first interview. You know, if you're you have to make a decision making a film like this. Do I lead with the drama or do I lead with the documentary first? I found the personalities of the real life interviewees more captivating than the performed versions of them.
And me.
I literally was entertained by them.
Yeah.
I was enthralled by them. I was gobsmacked by their sheer chutzpah and stupidity.
Exactly.
I couldn't believe that they'd actually done this. And so I found myself straining to want to know more about them.
Yeah.
Then I let go of that because I thought, it was clearly a very beautifully made drama.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I thought it was very, compelling and I thought they were meticulous in sort of constructing it.
Yeah.
But right at the beginning, I was, against my better nature, I found myself wishing it was a documentary.
It really snapped in between documentary and drama.
Yeah.
At first I was like, but then I quite liked how it did that. I did find the actual people really interesting.
Compelling.
Yeah, and I could have done with a bit more of them in it.
Yeah.
But I didn't find the drama a problem. I don't know, I mean, I liked both of them really, because I don't think I would have preferred it to be either one of a documentary or a drama. I think it worked.
I did think that the real people were far more compelling than the actors, actually, including the guy that you like so much. He was the best. I wanted to know more about them. They were fascinating, the actual people, so I agreed with you. I do find Barry Keoghan, his face is completely impassive and
It's inscrutable.
And that's a problem for me, because I can't tell from his face what emotions he's feeling. And in this film, he's supposed to be sort of expressing all the doubts. Even with doubts, I find him just very difficult to watch.
Oh, that's weird, because I mean, I can see why you'd feel like that, but I quite like how you can't quite.
I think almost I find his inscrutability forces you to analyse his performance even more, and in a weird way, I almost then find his performance.
Yeah.
It's a pretty straightforward, cross-cutting situation between the drama and the interviewees, although I mean that's a crass simplification. So how did you feel? There were a couple of moments where the fictional narrative, the real life characters would feature within some of the moments of the fiction. So for example, there's a moment where they're in the getaway car heading off somewhere, and one of the actual interviewees is standing on the street looking at them as they drive by.
Yeah.
I think there's another moment where he's in the back of the car with them.
The real Stephen and then the actor Stephen playing Stephen, they both like make eye contact as they go past.
Well,
I
really like that, and in a weird way I thought therein lay the solution for me of my problem with the film, which was I felt like you had interviewees, documentary, then you had, I thought and I wonder whether they were put under pressure by the film's financiers or whatever. I wanted more of that. Reminded me a little bit of the act of killing, that film where they've got the actual the murderers in, where was it, Cambodia or Vietnam or somewhere. I would have possibly entertained as a director the thought of involving them in the story, because I thought there was a real potential intimacy there where they could look in on themselves within the story.
I feel like I quite liked how they were only ever standing in the background. Like at points they weren't even you didn't even notice that it was the real ones. Yeah. And I really liked it because it was almost like they were looking in on what they've done. Yeah. And they're like, oh, God, I'm stupid. Or like kind of reminiscing and stuff because. And
I thought one of the other themes that I think always gets thrown up when you have documentary mixed with drama is the idea of the unreliable nature of the events. Yeah. And I thought there was a really strong scene where they were talking about were they connecting with someone? They were talking about whether they were hooking up with someone,
whether they could sell the goods.
Yeah, sell the goods or something. No, but there was a scene where he said, "I saw such and such," and then we saw it, and then he said, "No, it wasn't like that. I saw him coming towards me," and then they restaged it.
Yeah, it was clever. It was like he was picking up from somebody, and he remembered him looking different.
Yeah,
that's
they
right.
showed you two
the
versions
colour
of the same person.
Absolutely, and that's a direct reference back to the film The Thin Blue Line by Errol Morris, Errol Morris is The Thin Blue Line. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It was one of the first documentaries that was interested in the difference between various people's testimonies. So you have a murder and it's like 4 people are saying different things about what happened, and he would dramatise all 4 of them. So you were left to judge, and I thought that was another really strong moment.
Yeah, and that kind of element to the film as well was very similar to I, Tonya, the whole playing on the truth.
Yeah, the idea of who's truth, who's telling the truth.
Everybody had their own truth.
Yeah. I mean that's essentially what it was about, wasn't it? Everybody had their own truth. Yeah. So it was very good.
I've never liked heist movies. I mean, I've never been a fan of the heist movie. Because I always feel that when I go into a heist movie, I kind of know that if it was really successful and dramatic, we'd have heard that it was successful and dramatic. So I always feel like I'm going in knowing it's not going to sort of pay off.
Yeah.
No, because I quite like seeing how it didn't pay off.
Right.
Well, I want to see how badly it might have paid off.
Oh, I see.
And in this case, how ridiculous it was.
It was ridiculous.
Utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, it should have spoken to me. I'm an ex-librarian.
But absolutely.
It's about books.
Yeah.
It was about a heist.
You've been very keen on books.
And when it says about American animals reside in the caves of wherever they filmed it, Kentucky, is it?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
My heart sank slightly then, because I thought, American animals doesn't mean that they're all like... I thought of that Australian film where everybody's so Ben Mendelsohn, where everybody's so...
Yeah.
Animal Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom, which sounds like I just want blood and gore.
Right.
But in a way, my heart sank. I was thinking books.
Well, I have to admit,
like anything like they're supposed to look like.
Well, I have to admit, I thought the title and the poster for this film make you think you're getting one thing, and when I discovered the heist was actually about a book of really badly done, average pictures of birds. I get that they're recognised internationally, but really of virtually zero relevance to a young generation. At the point that I realised that's what it was about, my heart sank, and I was a little bit like, God. And yet, casting my mind back, I remember we were all leaning over to each other. We were very stressed. It was successful.
So stressful.
It was so stressful.
Yeah.
You know, in them staying hidden, executing the actual heist.
Yeah, I thought the actor, and like coming back to the actors, I thought they played it really well.
They did actually.
I thought I felt sorry for Evan Peters and Barry Keoghan were good, but the other two who played the guys that were kind of brought into it last minute, I felt quite sorry for them. First of all, didn't feel like they were given enough, and I felt like their characters were a bit like whatever kind of thing, especially the one with the glasses, who I really liked in it. But I think the way they managed to carry out the stress of like when you're that young and you're doing something that serious, and how like stressful it actually becomes. I just think they did that really, really well.
I think they did it
I
well.
remember like sinking into my seat like, oh my god.
I think they did it well, but I think they could have. I think they missed another trick. I would have liked a little bit more, and I think this is what you could have used those actors for, about the way in which I would have forgiven the film the nature of the heist and what they were nicking. If I'd got a little bit more about how this meant everything to these young people.
Yes.
And that part of it meaning everything to these young people was also lost when you began to realise that the kids who'd actually done it weren't that destitute and weren't quite privileged anyway.
Exactly.
They were actually privileged kids.
Yeah.
You know, so you could argue this is a film by posh people about posh people nicking posh people's things.
Yes.
So what?
You could. Yeah.
No, but like when the director came out at the end and was doing like a Q&A and stuff, I think somebody asked, it's quite unusual that you're using like a white privileged boys.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
It's quite interesting that they were all white privileged boys and they're wanting to take something when they've already got quite a lot. And I think he was just saying that that's what really interested him about making the movie. I thought it was quite interesting that we weren't quite sure as to why they would.
Yeah. But that's why I wanted a little bit more exploration of that.
No, but I also felt that Evan Peters was the one that wanted to do it, and everyone else just kind of went along with it. I thought it was quite good because it's almost like they didn't quite know why they were doing it.
That's
true.
To be honest, they were really young and obviously quite stupid. And they probably just thought money and weren't really thinking like, I've already got enough and I don't really need this. And I really liked that scene, you know, when they were given all their names.
Yes.
And then they had the real guys.
Oh, they gave them the names from Reservoir Dogs. He said, why am I Mr. Pink?
He's like, and he said something like, I'm yellow because I'm a Mom Sunshine.
That's right.
It's really funny.
I just still kept feeling like I wanted either just the fiction film or just the documentary film or both separately.
The sort of humour of the film, which it is all humour, goes down significantly when in the actual heist because they assault her, she wets herself, it's horrible. And then Ann Dowd played it, I thought, it very well. She played it very well, and also
so
it clearly rankles with the original, the actual thing that happened.
Well, the strapline for the film on the posters is "Nobody wants to be ordinary," and I suppose you know, if you think about that, you know, these are four guys, all of them wanting to elevate their lives to something more extraordinary. And I think that is that not a common tale for all of us? I mean, we're all looking for that little kind of lift up to make our lives a little bit more.
To have a Wikipedia entry by the time you're 40, as they say these days.
Absolutely.
And also, I think there's this thing of like when you see that there's like a white privileged, especially a man, I think they are seen as just, why would they want any more? Why would they want anything else? They've already got everything.
Exactly.
And they must have had that part of them that was just a bit like, well, maybe I don't want to be that privileged white boy that already has everything.
So what you're saying is it's precisely interesting because they are examining privileged white boys. It's like what makes them tick too.
Because I think somebody asked
really
in the Q&A why white privileged boys, and I think he said there is a lot of this whole black youths or just people that don't grow up in a very like wealthy background, and he said I think it's important also to see that kids with a wealthy background.
I totally agree. I think that's a very, very strong argument. Let's sum up then. Let's start with, should we start with Nanny Di?
It was a disappointment, slightly. Well, quite a lot. Despite the fact that it was about books and birds and everything that
Birds, books and librarians.
Exactly.
I mean, it's everything you live for.
Exactly. There were just lots of things in it. Bearing in mind that it was supposed to be a docudrama, and it really did straddle those two areas, didn't it? And I felt the payoff at the end just wasn't worth all the stuff we've been given. Lots of interesting things about it though, but it was a disappointment. So because of that, I'd give it 6 out of 10.
Okay. I mean, in a weird way, the director was blessed and cursed with a very strong cast and very strong contributors.
That's very true.
And really the first very difficult choice you ever have to make in the edit when making a documentary of any form is decide what to keep and what to cut. And I think if I was being brutal, I'd have said go for either just the documentary or just go for the drama. Because for me, it never quite meshed the two together. I felt like there were two things sitting alongside each other, just simply intercut. And at times I thought I preferred the documentary. In fact, I always preferred the documentary because there's now strange as folk, and there's nothing more stranger than actually listening to real people who are really ridiculous. Whereas acting them, being playing them, You know, I think the film could have worked more strongly if I felt I was given more of an interpretation of everything you were saying was interesting about, you know, privileged white young boys doing this crime. That said, it was ambitious. So for that alone, I'd say it's well worth going to see. If you're a film fan, you have to see it. I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10.
I really, really, really love Evan Peters. Like 10 times. I really liked how it cut between documentary and drama. I feel like it doesn't always have to be like one thing. It doesn't always have to just be a documentary, just a drama.
Sure.
I thought the actors played it really nicely as well. Like Evan Peters played Warren really well.
Keoghan.
I really liked the relationship between all of them as well. I thought they played it really, really well. And yeah, I found the real people really interesting as well. But I felt like I had enough of them. I felt there was enough of them. I felt if it was just a documentary, I would have been a bit like, what's the point of making a documentary about a heist that didn't work? Like, I felt when it had the acting and the drama and the actual heist and you watching it, it was more like, whoa, we wouldn't have felt that stress that we did when we were watching it. I didn't have a problem with it being a book either. I quite liked how it was something really boring. And yeah, I mean, I really, really love this film. Like, yeah, it was completely different to you guys. And I quite liked the whole old man scene because they looked so unbelievable.
They did.
And I think that's kind of why they scrapped the idea. I liked the mixture of emotions. Like, it wasn't a comedy. It wasn't a drama. It wasn't a documentary. It wasn't like serious.
It was a bit of a genre mashup.
It had well, it was like life. It was just like everything.
You're making me want to reappraise my entire review.
I know.
So I think I'd probably give this film like a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
I really, really loved it. I'd definitely see it again, and I would recommend it.
Well, there you go. I would say that's the purpose precisely of us having more than one head in these reviews, so that you get totally divergent perspectives on it.
For more film and family fun, don't forget to click the subscribe button and make sure to click the bell to never miss an update.